Well, a really good afternoon to you all, wherever you might be listening to the webinar all around Australia. Welcome to Friday, as we always say. Natalie Ashdown here with you. And today we're going to be focusing on coaching our teams through lockdown fatigue. Now, as it says there on the slide, Nick was supposed to be with you today, but unfortunately he's had to take a personal leave day. So I'm really looking forward to sharing some ideas with you, but most importantly, tapping into your wisdom and experience and your ideas around this topic as well. So I'm really looking forward to our time together. Before we begin, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, all around Australia. And there's a couple of people who have dialed in from overseas as well. And their continuing connection to the land, the waters, and the communities of Australia. And we pay our respects to them and to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So there we are in a full Zoom mode, but I thought I'll pop my video on so I can say hi to you all as well. And really what we're focusing on today, so the last couple of weeks, we've been focusing on building a culture of coaching within our organizations. I introduced you to the coaching culture framework. Bridget talked to you about the artifacts, those things we need to have in place to really support coaching coming into the organization. And then last week, we had a terrific discussion about return on investment, looking specifically at the Kirkpatrick model of evaluating training programs and evaluating, well, we're applying it to evaluating coaching, which seems to be working really well. So it might seem a bit strange that we're kind of taking this tangent, but as you know, for those of you that know us, our coaching cafes, what we focus on, they come a lot from the coaching that we've actually been doing during the week, or the themes that we're noticing, the conversations we're hearing, and particularly, as I mentioned, the coaching that we're doing. And this week in particular, a lot of discussion about lockdown fatigue. So in my coaching, there's been a lot of people bringing, we're talking about lockdown fatigue, what's happening for them, but also, through our media at the moment, there's a lot of discussion about lockdown fatigue. So I thought, well, let's just take a sideward step. Let's talk about this topic. And also, as we always do every Friday when we come together, let's talk about the tools, the strategies that we have on our tool belt that we can use as leaders and as coaches to help people through this. So that's really our topic for today. We'll talk about what is what are we talking about. Let's look at some of the coaching models that I think are really applicable, what we need to watch out for. But really, there's an enormous amount of wealth of knowledge and experience on the line. So let's just bring that together. Like, just feel free to jump in and share your knowledge and experience as well. So if you are new to the Coaching Cafe, I always say welcome to you. We meet here every Friday at this time, Melbourne time. Regardless of what's going on in the outside world, we come together as a community. We really want to share learning experiences together, have thought-provoking conversations. So welcome, you're part of our alumni who are coming together. And for all the regulars, welcome back. I love coaching cafes. I feel super energized every Friday. To me, delivering these sessions and connecting with you on a Friday, it is the highlight of my week. And to me, it means it's Friday. So we're kind of even more excited about that as well. So welcome back to everyone. Now, if you are here because you want to earn your CCEUs for the ICF accreditation, your continuing coach education units. We do have those available to you. Process improvement. I keep forgetting I'm supposed to drop the CCEU into the chat box at the end so you can download it. And I had been forgetting to do that over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So if you are after your CCEU, just hang on the line like for 1 minute after we finish the webinar. I'll put the CCEU in the chat box. You can download it, save it, and you're done. Just a note, you do have to be on the line for the full 30 minutes as well to earn that CCEU. So that's just a requirement that we have that's been passed down from the ICF. So just make sure you stay on the line. All right. So wonderful to see you all. We've got heaps of people on the line. So I'm really looking forward to tapping into all your knowledge and experience as well. So what is lockdown fatigue? What are we talking about? So feel free to hit the chat box. Tell me what you're thinking about when we say lockdown fatigue. What does it really mean? What's been your experience? And I love this cartoon. Do you know, I found this cartoon about March last year, actually. It was when everyone started working from home and we're kind of trying to get our heads around working from home. And now look at where we are. You know, half of Australia still in lockdown, the other half going in and out, the other half going there, we're all fine, you just stay away. But we are finding, I thought, I just laughed at this cartoon, and I found it again just to share with you. But feel free to hit the chat box. What are you thinking about when we say what is lockdown fatigue? Tell me what your experience has been as well. I'll just see if you want to thanks, Chloe, great to see you as well. Oh, there's so many people. Tracy, Sue, hello. 2 Tracys, 3 Tracys on the line. Welcome to you all. It's great to see you. Alrighty, so when we've been, Michelle, thanks for jumping in. So yeah, it feels like it's a bit of a delay there in my chat box. That's all right. Yes, what you've just shared there, Michelle, is it's almost exactly what a client said to me yesterday. It does feel like Groundhog Day. So we're kind of, for those people that are in lockdown, are kind of rolling from the day to the day, into the weekend, into the days, you know. So, and people are getting tired of that. Now, what's really interesting actually is that I coached a leader yesterday who has people all around the States. So the challenge that she has is that some people are in lockdown, other people aren't. That is actually causing overwhelm for her because she's got to manage different people in different ways. She's got to look after people in different ways. Who's in lockdown, who's not, who can work from home, who can't. And they're working in the area of science. So some people need to be into the office because they're working on their science. Other people don't have to be. She said the overload of thinking about all of these things is what's overwhelming her. And it's getting really tiring. So I really agree with what you say there, Michelle, around that Groundhog Day, the tiredness. You said loss of reality of time. Yes, get kind of losing connection with where are we and what's going on. Julia, yeah, you've mentioned limited opportunities for positive escapism. So that's right. When we're restricted, like we want to get out in nature, as you say there, you know, where we're restricted about how we can get out, when we can get out, that you know, we're losing that ability that we might have. You know, particularly those extroverts amongst us who want to get out in nature and recharge. The introverts in us also have got these 4 walls, and that's it. So the walls are starting to push in a bit as well. Yeah, lack of concentration. Jenna, thanks for jumping in. Yeah, you're right there. So we are finding lack of concentration, lack of motivation, people getting tired. So it's having an impact on their motivation. Yeah, for sure, their concentration. Fiona, I 100% agree with you. We noticed this very early on. The biggest challenge that we saw, you know, last year, back in March last year, was that extended of the blurring lines between work and home, the extension of the actual work day, but not only that, work around the home. So a client that I was working with started to put the files that he was working on the kitchen bench, because it was the only, on the kitchen table, I should say, because it was the only place that he had to actually work. Then he moved those files to the kitchen bench. Then he had kitchen table, kitchen bench. Then he had coffee table. And he said, I look around and work has permeated into all of those things, onto the coffee table, the kitchen bench, the kitchen, you know, not in the kitchen sink, but I think it almost went that way as well. So yeah, we need to really watch that. Susie, you said a sense of languishing. Yeah. And we found that people are saying, oh, Helen, you've jumped in. Yeah, trying to manage multiple things at the same time. Work calls, kids that you need to supervise who are homeschooling, heaps of chores. Yes, yes, I noticed that this week. I was kind of wondering when our cleaner might be back. Yeah, so those extra chores that you might have to do just because there's more people in the house and the house is being used more. And then the worlds are merging into one as well. So yeah, I did find that. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I have to do these, I have to do these chores. And yeah, I wasn't too keen. Tracy says not knowing where the end is or even what the end will be. So there's no end. We haven't quite got that in mind yet. And Sue, you've said being unable to plan for the future on a personal level and what it would look like. Yeah, I think that sense of excitement, like you said there, Sue, looking forward to holidays, and you're like, well, we can plan it, but is it going to happen? So there's always something that we get, I think, from that forward momentum, that planning for holidays and the excitement that comes when holidays come sooner. So not having that certainty, I think, is making a huge difference. And it's leading to people being tired. That's what we've noticed. So the words that people have used this week, tired, unmotivated, less likely to follow the rules. So they know that the rules are in place, but they're less likely to follow them because they can't be bothered anymore. And what I'm seeing in, oh yeah, Julian says, lockdown is easier than being in quarantine. So this is a very important point you raise as well, that we're talking about it, but we need to get on with what are we going to do about it. I agree. And one of the things we'll talk about is gratefulness. So being grateful that we're fit, that we're healthy, that we're not in quarantine, that we can still get outside our four walls if we want to. So things like that. Yeah. We have noticed people's stress levels going up, impact on sleep and snappy behaviour. So I talked to a client yesterday who said she's just getting a lot snappier, and she said everyone wants a piece of her. And I'm sure that we can all relate to this. At some point, everyone's kind of pulling at us, pulling at our strings, and they want a piece of us. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about lockdown fatigue, that people are getting tired, a bit snappier, a bit more unmotivated, a bit more overwhelmed. So okay, we know what we're talking about now. I think all of us have experienced it. Not everyone is experiencing the same thing at the same time, which makes it quite challenging from a leadership point of view. As I said, with those clients I have where they've got teams all around the state, some people are experiencing this, other people are fine. So it's a real challenge and what we call cognitive load to kind of think through those things and work through those things. So, alrighty, let's take a look at what are we going to do? How are we going to support ourselves first and then the people around us? Where does coaching come into it? And let's have a look at a couple of our top tools. So I feel like I do have to go to above the line and below the line as our first point of call. And tell me what you think about this as well. So, I always put up these ideas, but I'm open to being challenged and you telling me what you think about it. So we were thinking about what's our role in coaching our teams and supporting them through this. And, above the line and below the line comes up for me when I think about, for those of you that aren't familiar, this comes from our Certificate 4 in workplace and business coaching. And we think about change and uncertainty being on the line. And then what are we going to do? Which way are we going to go? So people can go below the line when they feel like things are being forced on them, they're being controlled, they kind of go into victim mode. It's not unusual, when people are really tired to just, they might be blaming others, or they're just being really negative. They're really kind of being drained. So they might start going below the line. What we're trying to do is coach people around to be above the line. And what we're talking about here is, what choices have we got? The optimism that might be out there. So I know it's so hard, isn't it, when when the numbers are coming in and all this kind of thing. But thinking about the the opportunities, or being optimistic, what we can do, rather than what we can't do. So a lot of the below the line is about, we can't do that, this is not happening, this is cancelled, like all that kind of stuff. And it's really tough, and we've experienced that as well. But it's like, okay, so this has been cancelled, or this has been postponed, or this has changed. So what can we do? How can we work around this? What options do we have? And Gillian says that, lockdown is easier than being quarantined. So it's, what can we be grateful for? What can bring out our happiness and our joy in the day? And, I'm not just kind of skipping through the daisies and seeing kumbaya here. It takes a real focus and a real mindset, I think. And that's where we can come into it as coaches. So tell me what you're thinking about this as well, with above the line, below the line. I think with our coaching, it's about helping people get direction, and leadership is about this as well, isn't it? Getting direction, getting clear, getting their structures and their routines in place, focusing on what's under our control. So fatigue comes because our energy is being drawn away, to all those things that aren't under our control, and we're getting tired. We're getting tired because it's like, oh, is there ever going to be an end to it? So coming back to focusing on what's in our control, in the present, in our immediate short term, with trust and with empathy, that's what I'm kind of grounding myself to right now. So, even when, as I'm talking about this with you, I feel myself grounding to that, what's in my control, the present, the immediate, the direction that I'm going in, which of course can change, by midnight tonight, things like that happen. But, rather than allowing my energy to just be sapped away to numbers and all this kind of stuff, it just helps that kind of sense of stability right here and now. And so I agree with you, Sue. Thank you. Finding what we can celebrate here and now. So being grateful for what we have, grateful for our health, grateful for the opportunity to get vaccines. And where the coaching comes into it is having conversations with our team about, what are they feeling? So are they feeling tired? Are they feeling motivated? So, do that reality, find out how they're feeling, how they're experiencing it. And then we might be able to start coaching in terms of direction, clarity, structure, etc., etc. I think the best thing we can do is have the conversations, thinking about from a mental health perspective. Let's have the conversations. Let's acknowledge that, yeah, it is a bit tough for some people at the moment. For others, they're actually fine or not experiencing anything. So in particular, so yeah, let's have the conversations about what people are experiencing, how they're managing it. And then we can coach around options, choice, optimism, what we can celebrate, what we're grateful for as well. I love all of those questions. Oh, good on you, Kenny. Says, I had to give myself a mani-pedi. Yeah. And he's got a sad face. You've got the sad face there. Yes, I know. I looked down at my toes and I went, oh, I feel for the lovely ladies down the road. I'd pop in there on a Friday afternoon, and not every Friday afternoon, but that was kind of my, every 3 or 4 weeks, my end to the week, and a little bit of a mani-pedi, yeah. And I'm looking down and I felt for them, because in Melbourne, they can't work, they're not been there for weeks. And I really feel for them. So I'm looking down at my miserable toes going, well, you're lucky, feel fortunate. And yes, you might have to do it for yourself, but yeah, I think that's the other thing too. We do feel for others that aren't in the position that we are in as well. So that's where I kind of, ground myself, send them, good wishes in the universe. And yeah, but yeah, I can relate to that. I think that's the thing with, I'm thinking about that. It's those things that we have in our routines that are part of self-care. So one of the things that I think is an antidote to lockdown fatigue is self-care. So, the school sent home an email that said, make sure the kids are getting off their screens and make sure that they're getting outside and make sure they have family connection time. And I'm like, they're not going to do that. My son had a half a day off, and it's an opportunity to do more screen time, not less. And so, but really, when I think about it, those things are so important. It's trying to encourage all of us really to look after ourselves, get outside if we can, have less time on those screens. It's kind of like the obvious, isn't it? But we really have to walk our talk on that as coaches and as leaders. So yeah, so keeping that self-care routine up the best we can. Haircuts all around. Settle my boys down, and I became Rosa, the hairdresser. And yes, they all got a bit of a home cut. Yeah. Alrighty. Feel free to jump in with your other ideas that you have there as well about above the line and below the line. Like I said, I'm not just trying to skip through the daisies and kumbaya. For me, this really is about mindset. It's about what we're focusing on, how we're using our energy rather than letting it be sapped by a lot of different things. We went out on the weekend. My husband's talking about COVID. He's talking about Afghanistan. And I said, darling, we know people that are involved in those things. I said, can we please it's a beautiful sunny day. Can we just have no COVID and no Afghanistan just for the next, 30 minutes? So it's not that we don't care, but it's about what we're allowing to come in, and that starts to cause that overwhelm and fatigue as well. He actually walked me way away. Like, I'm like, where are we going on this walk? It was like a crazy kind of not the normal walking routine. And he said to me, I'm just trying to keep you away from the general public. So I realized what was overwhelming me was seeing a lot of people out there who were breaking the rules, around masks, around groups. This is in Melbourne, by the way. So I realized that it was actually causing me quite a bit of stress to see people out there just blatantly breaking the rules. So he walked me, bless, all around these other paths and tracks and streets, so I didn't have to see the general public. So, little things like that can help us with lockdown fatigue as well. Feel free to jump in, tell us what else you're thinking. So the other tool I want to remind you of, so for those of you that have done the Certificate 4 in Workplace and Business Coaching, I want to remind you of this tool, okay? I think we introduced it around about Module 7, something like that. So go back and take a look. We also looked at this in feedback as well, Module 8, I think it was. But for those of you that haven't done the program or might be just joining us for the Coaching Cafe for the first time, I love this model, as you know. And I think when it comes to coaching people through lockdown fatigue, this is my go-to. So all you need to do really is all you need to do with this model from your coaching point of view is draw up a grid. So I just draw up a 2x2, something like this. Draw up your, you can't see that, oh, that's better. Draw up your 2x2. And basically all you're going to do is put start at one side and you write stop. I'm just scribbling this to make it quick. More of, and then less of. Nope, no, pen wants to run out. So I'm just scribbling nice and quick. So you got start, stop, more of. Can you see that okay? Start, stop, more of, less of. So what we're thinking about here, in order to kind of bring our energy back, in order to really focus, we're thinking about what is it we're trying to achieve? What is it we really want? So you're coaching a person, one of your managers, or you might be coaching yourself. Go back to the GROW model. What is it that you're trying to achieve? So we're trying to achieve a happy, healthy team that's motivated, is high performing, is moving through lockdown. So, moving with the changes through lockdown rather than getting about it. So that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to adapt and flow with the changes rather than getting all crazy about it. So in order to do that, in order to adapt, in order to flow, in order to move with the times that we're facing at the moment, in order to really have energy rather than fatigue, so they might be some of the goals that we want to achieve. What do we need to start doing? So this is so simple. You basically drawn up your 2x2 grid, and you're going to say, okay, what do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? So for me, the biggest thing for me was I needed to stop newsfeed. So one of the things that made the biggest impact on me recently was stopping my news feed, because that continuous news feed of case numbers and the very sad things that are going on around the world, it was starting to impact me. I was starting to notice things a lot more and check in on things. And I've actually managed to go through most of lockdown without checking the case numbers, because somebody is always going to tell me them. So I can go through, I can never, up until recently, I never checked the numbers. Somebody every day, somewhere that I talked to, would give me the case numbers. But I found, yes, Kenny, thank you. You said doom scrolling. Yeah, I found a couple of weeks ago I was doom scrolling, and I said, we've got to stop that. So that's a stop. I need to start just focusing on what I can control. Stop with the doom scrolling. Do more of I've got Audible books that I had that I kind of stopped doing my Audible books. So more audio books, less catching up with the news and stuff like that. So it's very good to kind of just bring yourself back. And when we're coaching people and we're doing this, so we're coaching our team through lockdown fatigue to overcome the lockdown fatigue, this is 100% what I would do. Start doing this, and you're coaching them around what are they going to start doing, stop doing, do more of, and do less of. So I did a little start, stop, more of, less of for myself, and went, right, tidy up here. You've gone for 18 months without checking the statistics. Why would you start doing it now? I was scrolling Afghanistan. I was waiting to hear what the Australian response was going to be. And I'm like, okay, I read it and I said that's enough, so things like that you can actually do as well. Gillian, thank you for jumping in with that as well. With the GROW model, do we need to reconsider what's a realistic goal? Thank you for bringing that up, actually. Someone said to me, I had a bit of a reaction to it. Someone said to me, oh, you've just got to adjust your expectations. Maybe you shouldn't have such high expectations. You should lower your expectations. And I kind of, had a bit of reaction. Lower my expectations? Of course not. But I like what you say there about, let's just reconsider what's realistic right now, what we can achieve right now. And for those of you that know me, I have a big issue with the word realistic as well. I don't like realism getting in the way of achieving goals. But I did a whole webinar on why we need to be realistic, because that's where the rubber hits the road. And that's where we are actually achieving rather than pie in the sky. So I agree with you, getting to be realistic, what's achievable now, what we need to start, stop, do more of, and less of to achieve that. Really nice. So we've got our goal, checking for realism, do your start, stop, and out of that, the actions actually flow as well. And I love it because it's just the 2x2 matrix. We don't have to be rocket scientists around this. Yeah. So when we're coaching people out of lockdown fatigue, think about the reframe there. So we don't want to be overwhelmed. We don't want to be drained. We don't want to be Groundhog Day, okay? So think about, what's our goal? What is it that we do want? That's the first step. And then we're going to start, stop, and then put some actions in place around that. So I want to be fit and healthy and a positive mindset. I don't want to be kind of caught up in the the sadness. And so I want to be in control of what I can control, anything like that. And then we can do your stop, start. And Elizabeth, thank you. Lovely to see you. Thanks for jumping in. She says, listening to calm music in the background works for me too. Yes. So if you go onto Spotify or any of those and look for the study concentration. So I've got a couple of lovely playlists, which are study at work or concentration for work and study playlists. And they're lovely to have in the background as well. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Other ideas, thoughts, questions, comments that you might have? Alrighty, so we're right on time now. Just as we've talked about already, watch out for that extension of the workday. Check in with people's mental health and well-being. We do need to do that. And for those of you that have done the mental health first aid course, remember, we're looking for recognizing out of character behavior, having conversations, building that awareness, making sure we keep our physical activity up as well. And I think the most important thing is kindness. I noticed on our local Facebook, the suburb Facebook group, like people are yelling at each other in the street. I'm like, come on, people. First of all, don't scroll Facebook, local pages. And second, just spread that kindness. That's what we're all doing. Alrighty, so we've got a workbook on our website. Actually, it's been up there for a little while, but if you need this for your teams, feel free to download it. It's just a short course and I think you'll enjoy it. Coaching virtual teams. So we talk a little bit about this as well. Might be another chance to look into that. If you haven't done our mental health first aid program, it's wonderful. It makes a huge difference to our own mental health, but also how we have those, raise those awarenesses and have those conversations about mental health. And Nick is an absolute amazing facilitator. So he'll be able to work with you on that as well. And of course, the Cert 4 in Workplace and Business Coaching is going on at the moment as well. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, so Sam and Kenny says Nick rocks, and Samantha says I've done mental health first aid with Nick and it was great. Yeah, so thanks for that. Thanks for saying that. Alrighty, so there you are. I really wish you well this week. I wish you groundedness. I wish you energy. I wish you some quietness that just allows us to center, to do great coaching, to look after ourselves. And I wish you exercise, and I wish you good food. And I hope you all have a really lovely weekend as well. So let's just refocus, reground ourselves. Yeah, thanks, Chloe. I agree with you. It's nice to have a real focus, just take some time out. And yeah, please try that stop exercise as well. Beautiful. Alrighty, so I wish you well. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay on the line if you would like the CCU. I'm about to drop that into the chat. Have a great weekend. See you. I'll see you at our next webinar next week.